you know, he picked the wrong family, and not scared of a conflict, and we're not scared. We're not running. We're coming at him.
Hey guys, it's Franky. Welcome to the think tank. Just getting set up here. Want to do a Lori Vallow video just so we can kind of keep up to speed. So as you can tell, I'm still having problems with my lighting. Not sure what's going on with that. So let's take a look at Lori. Let's take a look. Where to even start, right? So let's start here. Okay. Sweet little JJ. So cult mom trial. Court shows photos of JJ's decomposed face with mouth taped shut. Already, right guys? Oh. I'm going to enlarge this a bit for you. The girls are saying good morning. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to get these two what they want, and we are off. So the Rexburg police detective Ray Hermosillo testified that Vallow was wearing red pajamas and had a bag over his head. Oh my God. Prosecutors showed graphic photos of JJ Vallow, who was reportedly found buried in his stepfather's property in 2022. His pajamas were soaked with decomposition. He still had on his pull-up nighttime diaper. There was some visible bruising on his arm that the medical examiner had pointed out. According to East Idaho News, great source of information, a photo of JJ's face was shown to the court. It was reportedly black and gray, but Hermosa said it was very easy to identify him as Lori Vallow, Daybell's missing son, who vanished along with her daughter, if you guys remember, Tylee. She'd be 17 now. It was just before her 17th birthday. Oh, older than that now. 9 months after their disappearance, their bodies were reportedly discovered on Chad Daybell's property. Tylee was reportedly dismembered and burned. Her remains were located near a burn pit. Oh, hard to take. Daybell, who is married to Vallow Daybell, is also charged with attacking the two children. Additionally, the couple is charged with unaliving Chad Daybell's first wife back in 2019. Vallow Daybell is also charged in Arizona with conspiracy to commit murder for the death of her first husband, Charles Vallow, who was fatally shot by Vallow Daybell's brother. No, this is mine. So that he was shot by Alex in this case, if you guys remember. Vallow Daybell. So that's going to be Lori, right? And Daybell's going to be Chad. Okay. Lori said she was with Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, or Chad Daybell when her son and daughter died in her brother's apartment in Rexburg, Idaho. Lori allegedly said she was at her residence, also in Rexburg. Again, I'll mention this. These two lived in the same apartment building. Same apartment building. Vallow Daybell claims she was in Hawaii when Tammy Daybell was attacked at her husband's home in Salem, Indiana. Vallow Daybell stated she was with 2 other people at the time. So they did, when they're talking about Tammy Daybell, they did exhume her body and do a second autopsy, and she is now back in her final resting place. Lori, who is believed to have been involved in a so-called doomsday cult, told a friend that her children had become zombies, and the only way to exorcise their bodies of evil spirits was to, kill them. Vallow Daybell underwent psychiatric treatment before she was deemed fit to stand trial. She's not facing the DP. Cameras are not allowed in the courtroom. And we know all of that stuff. Oh, these wiggly little worms, eh? These wiggly little worms. What they did to these kids, I mean, the ripple effect is insane. They didn't just do this to these kids. They did this to every person that knew and loved them. So let's take a look at this. Or not. They say no. Alrighty then. I'm going to end up having to subscribe to a lot of these because they're saying your freebie is over, lady. Okay. See if these guys will talk to me. So, horrific trial. Photos reveal Lori Vallow's youngest son, JJ, was wearing red pajamas and a night diaper, bound by thick duct tape and wrapped in a bag, while her daughter's remains were too badly burned for an autopsy. Horrific photos of JJ Vallow's remains were shown to jurors on Tuesday afternoon after the trial was briefly paused. Well, Vallow lodged a failed request to be excused. She's saying that it was too stressful for her to spend the morning looking at all of these pictures and that she needed to get away due to her fragile mental condition. Well, you done do this, girl. Judge Stephen Boyce dramatically denied her request, and she was forced to stay in court as jurors saw pictures that included JJ's remains taken to the Ida County Coroner's Office. I mean, it's all disturbing. It's all disturbing. And I mean, I think we're looking at a case where, again, chances are really good that it was these 2 people that did this. And you know what? If the juries have to look at this shit, so should they. They did this. Is this just like a reminder to them that they don't want to deal? I don't know. If the jury has to look at this shit, so should they. There were gasps in the courtroom as harrowing photographs of JJ were projected onto a large screen. After a medical examiner removed the bag wrapped around JJ, the little boy's body was found to be bound by a thick layer of duct tape with a thick layer across his mouth line to jaw line. He was wearing red pajamas, a pull-up night diaper, and covered in a blue child's blanket. Can you imagine the things these people have to look at? Oh my God, these unhumane humans. Yeah, she was saying she believed they were zombies. Of course, we know that zombie is going to be a phrase that we are going to hear a lot of in the next few months. Yeah, few months. Vallow spent much of the afternoon session slouched in her seat with her head propped up by her arm in an apparent attempt to avoid eye contact with anyone else in the courtroom. We're seeing the same thing in Letitia Stout's case. She hides behind her hair. She literally, how can these people, they need to see what they have done. Vallow spent much of the afternoon, a marked shift from her previously calm appearance during much of the proceedings. They're saying that maybe she had to do something along these lines because they figured that maybe due to her lack of emotion up until this point, the jury was going to think she was a cold fish. Well, JJ's grandfather, Larry Woodcock, broke down and sobbed in the public gallery during the highly distressing testimony. Yeah, from what I've heard, he was just vibrating and sobbing. Hermosillo said through the videos and pictures that we had seen of JJ for the last 8 months, the tips coming in, everything we had obtained and looked at, I was able to recognize that same little boy lying on the table to be JJ Vallow. He had the same haircut. He added there was some visible bruising on his arms that the medical examiner had pointed out. Tylee's remains, as we know, were too badly damaged for an autopsy. The distressing images were shown hours after Hermosillo, who searched for the missing children of Doomsday Cult Mom Vallow, described in gruesome detail how investigators had to take turns digging at the property because the smell of decomposing flesh was so unbearable. Oh my God. Detective Hermosillo apologized as he recounted the discoveries because he was forced to use such grim language in the description, which came as jurors were also shown harrowing photographs of the burial sites. Yeah, she sat motionless as shocked jurors heard how JJ's decomposed remains were discovered wrapped in a plastic bag, and he was duct taped. Tylee, we know, was found by the pet cemetery. How do you do this? Lori allegedly unalived the 2 youngsters after believing the second coming of Christ was imminent and her children were zombies. Zombies! The 49-year-old is also accused of conspiracy to unalive her husband and Chad Daybell's ex-wife. How do you say ex-wife? Because they were married when she passed away. 49 years old, who will face separate trials over the killings, was a doomsday prepper who forged a reputation through books. Yeah, this is Chad. And talked about the end of the world. They deny the deaths. Yeah, you can do that all you want. During the second day, Vallow's trial on Tuesday, Hermosillo revealed in grisly detail how JJ's remains were found by the FBI's evidence response team as they searched near a tree in the yard. Oh my God. As they began to remove the top layer of soil, it began to expose 3 white rocks, said the detective. At that point, there was a strong odor. Through my experience, it was a decomposing body. He said more wood paneling was slowly and methodically removed from beneath the rocks, which revealed a black round object starting to protrude. The hole was where JJ was buried, just a few inches deep. They scraped all the way, did some more solid. They scraped away some of the more solid around the round object, and it began to take the shape of, it looked like the crown of a head protruding from the dirt, the detective said. This here is talking about how tricky it was to get these bodies up from the ground without doing any kind of damage. And it is talking very graphically about how these children looked when they found them. The best I can describe it was just blobs of flesh that were falling apart. So you see, yeah, too much. 3 or 4 detectives climbed into the ditch to try and remove the remains, but they were too damaged. As the discoveries were made, Chad Daybell did attempt to flee the scene in his car at a high rate of speed, but was stopped and arrested. Yeah, too much. Her trial began Monday. Lori Vallow sat emotionless while tragic photos were shown to the jury of the gruesome scene detectives found at Salem, Idaho property in June 2020. But on the second day of her case, the cult mom was in good spirits, laughing, chatting with her defense attorneys as proceedings got underway. So, I don't know, not sounding like she was too stressed to sit there. So the detective, the third witness at the trial, described in detail the chilling scene after police raided Vallow's apartment in November 2019 during a search for her son, JJ Vallow, 7. It's talking about the warrant to search the home to check for the welfare of JJ. Prosecutors alleged JJ and his sister, Tylee Ryan, had already been attacked by the time this search took place. Investigators found food in the fridge and dishes in the sink, everything that looked like someone had lived there, but there was no clothes on the hanger. Oh, they're talking about JJ's toys being on the property, a scooter, little blue suitcase under the stairwell, an old prescription for JJ. There were several guns in the garage of the apartment, several different army knives, several different empty magazines for various weapons. Oh. So it said on her second day, she showed up in a pink blouse, navy trousers, shackles around her ankles. She should have them around her damn wrists, too. I don't have any sympathy for people that can do this to children. They also obtained a warrant for the storage unit. And there they found personalized blanket with photographs of JJ and Tylee, Colby Ryan, which is her oldest son, and family photographs that had been sewn onto a blanket. Sounds like she may have been a mom at one point in her sick little life. So the pair refused to answer questions about JJ and instead both looked at each other blankly. Cops were unable to find Vallow. Raised some red flags just based on the way they acted. I then asked Alex if he knew where JJ was at, and he stated that JJ was with Kay Woodcock in Louisiana. So that's the grandmother. Detectives say that that is when alarm bells went off because it was Kay Woodcock that made the call for the welfare check. They knew right away that they were being lied to. Brutal. Brutal. So we do know that the judge did deny her request to waive her presence for the remainder of the court date yesterday. 7 days into the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, Lori Vallow Daybell made a request to not be present for the rest of the day of testimony following a morning of testimony where her children's remains were shown. Everybody said she wasn't really having a reaction to all of that. She's charged with 7 felonies. She and her husband, Chad Daybell, are accused of attacking her 2 children, JJ and Tylee. She is also accused of conspiring to attack Tammy Daybell, and she has pled not guilty. And this here is just explaining the detective's testimony, and we just went over that, so we're good there. My client wishes to waive her presence at the testimony for the remainder of the day. It was an emotional morning. She indicated that she did not wish to attend this afternoon. Having considered the authority I do think this court has the authority to override that request of the defendant to voluntarily excuse herself from portions of the trial, but not others. And the court said, hell no, lady. Hell no. Look what you did. So I found this really interesting. Like, what the hell? Chad Daybell told cops he hardly even knew Lori Vallow, even though they were married. But I mean, truth be told, they probably didn't really know each other. So a detective for police in Rexburg, Idaho, testified Tuesday that when he first approached Chad Daybell in 2019 to ask him about Lori Vallow Daybell, Chad said he hardly knew Lori, despite the fact that they'd been married for 2 weeks. Oh my God, these dumb asses. So Detective Ray Hermosillo took the stand Tuesday and recounted when he came to Lori's home to conduct a welfare check, and who had been, we know that JJ had been reported missing by the grandparents. When Hermosillo asked Lori's brother Alex Cox where JJ was, Cox got a blank look on his face, a frightened look. And at that point, both Chad and Cox looked at each other. It definitely raised some red flags. Cox then told Hermosillo that JJ was in Louisiana with Kay Woodcock. Lies. More lies. When Hermosillo asked Chad for Lori's number, Chad said he didn't have it. I assumed he was lying because they were close, Hermosillo testified. And when Hermosillo asked Chad about his relationship with Lori, he said, I hardly know her, adding that he was suspicious because authorities knew that they had been married for 2 weeks previous. Oh, my God. Subsequently, Hermosillo, who testified that his visit to Lori's house allegedly showed deception and lies, got a search warrant for the homes of Lori, her niece Melanie, and Alex Cox. At that time, we felt there was something more going on with the whereabouts of JJ, and we were not getting any cooperation from Chad or Alex, Hermosillo, who later testified about making the grim discovery. These poor babies. They were looking into the eyes of people they totally trusted. They felt safe with. The terror. What was left of Tylee was found, charred remains, a mass of bone and tissue. That's what was left of this beautiful young woman. They're nauseating. JJ was last seen September 23rd, 2019, and the last known image of Tylee was taken on September 8th, 2019. While she was on a day trip to Yellowstone National Park with her mother, brother, and Lori's brother, Alex Cox. So December 12th, 2019, Cox died from a heart attack at age 51. I don't know if they're looking into that. I mean, too many people drop around Lori and Chad. So we also know that back at the beginning of March, a judge did rule that Lori will not face the death penalty. Oh, yes, her trial is ongoing. I think we've got a little ways to go yet. Okay, that's not it. We might be finished with this update. Let me just double check. Yeah. So that's what I've got for updates so far with the Lori Vallow case. I will keep my eyes peeled as usual. Watch for our live this morning on Gannon Stoke. They are supposed to be bringing in more recorded audio. So look forward to that. And you know what? I'll see you there. Bye.